Hey guys, Coach Matt Pippin here from Pippin Performance, and welcome to the Fit Project, your weekly workouts designed to help you be strong, be mobile. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel below to get the latest workouts as they're posted.
Today's workout is all about stabilizing the two most mobile joints in our body, the shoulders and the hips. Almost all human movement requires some sort of stability in these two joints, so we're getting them fired up and ready to go.
This is a great workout to do a couple times a week or as a general warm-up if you're an advanced lifter.
Today's workout includes dead bugs, level 1 bind with foot over, one leg bridges, crawl 4x4, lateral lunge to a one leg deadlift, and the sideline shoulder series.
You guys ready? So let's do this. All right, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna have Jen lay flat on her back. We're gonna do our dead bugs with opposite limbs moving. And so the dead bugs is all about stabilizing our core. It's all about getting that pelvic and lumbar connection to really work together. So we're gonna have opposite limbs doing so we have a little bit more neurological drive here. So first thing with the dead bug, we're gonna start by tucking our chin a little bit, flattening that lower back, and now we're gonna lift all four limbs straight up in the air. So if you're less mobile, you can bend your knees a little bit, or you can straighten them out. It's totally up to you. Just go to where you feel safe and comfortable. You can always keep that lower back driving into the ground. That's the most important thing. So if you're a beginner, your range is gonna be kind of small. If you're more advanced, you can keep that lumbar in contact with the ground, then go full tilt. So we're gonna start first by going left hand and right leg, and they're gonna slowly go down toward the floor. You're gonna pause at your end range, and then you're gonna come back up, do a quick little check-in to make sure your spine's flat, and then we're gonna go for 9 more for a total of 10. Nice and slow, slower is always better. Keep driving that lumbar into the ground. Good. Little check, we got 5 left. Always make sure you're breathing while you're doing this. You can either breathe out, breathe in, it doesn't really matter, just keep breathing while you're doing this. And keep driving that lumbar into the ground. Excellent. All right, this is the last one. Now we're gonna go switch sides. So now we're gonna go right hand and left leg. Drive the lower back, make sure everything's good. Let's get 10. Do a quick check. Where's your chin at? Does it start to flare back up toward the ceiling? Do a quick check where your lumbar is. Make sure it's driving into the ground. Don't get too carried away and trying to see if you can touch the ground with your feet and your arm. It's not important. Make sure you keep your lumbar in contact with the ground. That's what this is all about. Good. Got 2 left, nice and smooth. Good. All right, next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the bind with the foot over. And the foot over just adds a little bit more hip complex to it. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our left foot and put it on the opposite side of our right knee. Make sure our spine is nice and tall. The key here is make sure both sit bones stay on the ground. If you can't cross your foot over and keep both sit bones down, make sure this foot stays over here.
Okay.
And so now we're gonna go here. She's gonna take her left hand, put it slightly behind her, screw that shoulder down and back, keeping your length in your spine, and now take your right arm and cross over. And we're just gonna hold here for 30 seconds, but you wanna just make sure you're staying tall. You wanna rotate, not tilt. Most people, they'll tend to go way too far to the left, trying to squeeze out a little bit more range of motion. That kind of defeats the purpose of the exercise. This is a rotation drill, it's not a lateral flexion drill. Make sure you stay tall, you're breathing. Wherever your sternum is pointing, that's kind of where your chin and your eyes should go. Sometimes we get a little carried away, we rotate to our left, and then we try to turn our head to the left as well. It's not important, we're trying to just rotate from that thoracic spine. Got about 15 seconds left here. Just make sure you're still breathing. You're using your obliques to rotate, not too much of this arm. Everything's nice and controlled. You're keeping that length in the spine. Trying to push yourself away. Excellent. Take about 2 more breaths here, and that should about do it. And slowly come out of that, and let's go ahead and switch sides. So now we're going to take the right foot, cross over the left leg, sit up nice and tall. Screw that right hand into the ground so we feel some good engagement down here in our right scapula. Cross the arm over and now create that length once again. Make sure you're always breathing. If you find that you can't take a deep breath, that means you are trying to go way too far with this. You have to be able to breathe. If you can't breathe, then you have basically no business being in that position. Do a little quick check-in, arms nice and straight, scaps down and back, creating that length. We're still breathing. Try not to use this left arm too much. We're making it all come from our oblique. So if I'm going to my right, It's my right obliques doing it. My left obliques are kind of getting stretched out. Let's go for about 5 more seconds here, creating that length. One more good deep breath. And slowly come out of that. All right, next thing up, guys, we got the one-legged bridge. So we're gonna have you lay flat on your back. So this is just like doing a normal bridge where you're driving your hips up and down, but now we're gonna add a one leg. So it's gonna require a little bit more stability. Now, if you're not ready for this, by all means, just do the double leg bridge. That's totally fine. When you can bang out like 30 or 40 bridges with both legs, then you're probably ready to start trying to do one leg. So we're gonna do our exact same setup. We're gonna tuck our chin, flatten our lower back. We're gonna drive the heels into the ground to get nice and high to start with. Make sure we have comfort here in this position. So we're now going to pick our left foot up off the ground. The first thing you're gonna notice is your left hip wants to drop. You gotta fight that rotation. And now we're gonna slowly lower the hips down to the floor and drive right back up. We're gonna get a total of 10 here. Every couple of reps, do it like I said, a little quick check-in. Make sure your chin's out. Make sure that pelvis isn't rotating. So your left one's gonna wanna rotate toward the floor. Keep him high. You should feel a whole lot of tension in your right glute. If you start feeling your right hamstring almost kind of crampy feeling, you've lost your pelvic tilt. So just come down, reassess, keep that good alignment in your spine and your lumbar, and then start going back to it. You can do whatever you want to do with your left leg here. It's not really, you don't have to have it straight, you don't have to have it bent, just do whatever you feel comfortable. Let's go and switch sides. So once again, do a quick check-in, drive the hips up together. Let's go right leg up, and now let's start going up and down for 10. Once again, do a quick little check-in, make sure everything's good. And you kind of use your arms to kind of help stabilize you. Sometimes you'll see people doing this. That's kind of an advanced move. Drive those arms down. It kind of helps create more stability. Plus, we're trying to stabilize our shoulder and joints. So if you drive your hands down, that's going to give us some good stability coming out of our shoulder capsule. Nice and smooth. We got 2 left here. Good. One more. And down nice and smooth. All right, so now we're going to go right back to those dead bugs again. So once again, everything up in the air. Chin tuck, flatten the lower spine. We're gonna go left hand and right leg down together for 10. Nice and smooth, only go to where you feel safe. If your lumbar starts moving and it comes off the ground, you've gone way too far. You don't get a cookie for how big your range is. Just go to where you feel safe and you start to feel that engagement in your abs. Let's do a quick check-in, make sure everything's good. Let's bang out these last few. Nice and slow, make sure you're still breathing. Trying to keep this leg that stays up, try to keep him as perfectly still as humanly possible. Let's go ahead and flip sides. So right hand, left leg are dropping, and begin. Good, nice and smooth. Check in where your chin is, check in where your pelvis is. Especially in the very beginning with all these types of exercises, you're always gonna want to do a quick little check-in every 3 or 4 reps. Don't reinforce bad form. You just want to make sure your chin's tucked, lumbar's nice and stabilized, and you're breathing the whole time. Finish these up. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, now we're gonna get into the bind again. So, sit up. Wanna make sure both sit bones stay on the ground. Let's start with the right foot crossing over the left leg. So we're gonna rotate to our right. Create that length in the spine. Let's hold for 30 seconds. As you get better with these, if you wanna increase the time under tension here, go from 45 seconds to a minute, that's totally fine. Just make sure you are breathing and we're using our obliques to rotate, not this trail arm right here. Do a quick little check-in. How far is your right shoulder away from your ear? If they're pretty close together, you're getting bound up, so act like you're pushing yourself away from the floor to create that space between your right ear and your right shoulder. Make sure you're breathing, make sure you're taking those big, deep breaths. The bigger the breath you can take, the more comfortable you're gonna be there. Your nervous system's gonna feel more safe. It's gonna let you have a little bit more room to play with. Let's take about 3 more big breaths here, and then I'll put us at 30 seconds. Nice and smooth. Create that length in the spine. Just act like somebody's pulling you straight up to the ceiling. And slowly come out of that. All right, let's switch it up. Let's go left foot over the right knee. Put that left hand behind you, screw it in, create that length, and let's go for 30 seconds. If you're not quite mobile, you can always have your left hand a little bit more out to the side. That's totally fine. It doesn't matter. Just go to where you feel safe. If you have a lot of room for rotation, you're obviously going to have your hand a little bit further behind you, kind of like Jen has here. Create that nice and tall. Another thing, if you want to jazz it up, you can think about trying to pull your left knee across your body using your left inner thigh. It's just another way to get more stability out of it. As you get more advanced in these things, you can start to play around with where your legs are, where your arms are, make it a little bit more challenging, but you're always still breathing with every breath. Let's get about 2 more really big breaths here, and that'll put us at 30. Create that length, everything looks good. And slowly come out of it. All right, let's finish up with the last one-legged bridges. Lay flat on your back, assume the bridge position. Really use your arms to help stabilize you here. So shoulders away from your ears, tuck that chin mildly, pelvic tilt, elevate the hips and hold. Let's go right leg up. And now let's slowly lower the hips up and down for 10. So another thing to keep in mind here is we want to initiate the drive from our left heel. Sometimes our heel will come up and we'll start pushing more through the ball of our foot. That defeats the purpose. We don't want to get that kneecap involved. Drive through the left heel. That's where all your power is going to come from. Do a quick check-in at the top. Are your hips kind of sagging one side or the other, or are they perfectly flat, which is what we want? Nice and smooth. Keep breathing. Do a little check-in. Make sure everything's good. All right, let's go ahead and switch sides. So come down, reset everything. Good pelvic tilt. Chin tucked. Drive the hips up. Let's go left leg up. And slowly lower down using the right leg. Let's get to 10. Once again, drive through that heel. You still want to keep your big toe and your pinky toe down, but you just want to initiate the drive from the heel. You'll see sometimes people pick their foot up and just try to really drive through that heel. Check in with your arms, make sure your shoulders are where they need to be. And right now, your butt cheeks should be pretty on fire right now. If they're not, you're doing something wrong. Let's finish up these last few. And relax. All right, next thing we're gonna do is now we're gonna put everything kind of together. We're gonna do the crawl. We're gonna go 4 by 4 by 4. And what that means is we're gonna do 4 reps, going 4 steps forward, 4 steps back. So we're gonna get into our crawl position. So you wanna get on all fours with your hands directly underneath your shoulders and your knees directly underneath your hips. So she's going to rise up so her knees are off the ground, so she's on her toes. So one thing you want to think about is imagine you have a really nice glass of wine on your lower back here. We do not want to spill that. So you don't want to have your hips rotating side to side. It's all about creating stability. And you're going to tuck your chin so your eyes are looking exactly where your sternum is. You're going to pull your shoulder blades a little bit together just so you kind of feel them turned on. So right now you should feel your abs turned on a little bit. You should have a little bit of engagement. So next thing, we're going to go right foot, left arm, and you're only going to move like 2 or 3 inches. And then you're going to go the opposite ones. Shoulder is better here, and always make sure wherever your foot goes, your arm goes the same distance. Go ahead with the left. And now we're going to go backwards for 4. Nice and smooth. The slower you go, the more engagement we'll get. And that's 1 rep, guys. Now let's do that 3 more times. Go 4, 4, 2 or 3 inches, 2 or 3 inches. Excellent. Come back.
Oops.
Oh. And then when you get back to here, make sure your knees are underneath, make sure your hands are underneath. You gotta take a break, that's totally okay. Get established again, and now let's go. 3 and 4, and take it back. 2, 3, 4. And relax, we got 1 more. Make sure we're going opposite arms and opposite legs. Let's go, get engaged. Boom. 3, 4. And go ahead and come on down. Next thing we got, guys, is our lateral lunge to one-legged deadlift. So this gets a little bit more dynamic, and you're gonna have a little, it's basically a very, very difficult version of putting 2 movements together. So the first move is we're gonna do the lateral lunge. So we're gonna stand here, we're gonna go to our left, make sure we got a good forward lean, knees kind of tracking mid-foot, knees probably about mid-foot as well. We're not going way too far forward, we're not buckling, we're not going too far out. This leg's nice and straight. Then we're going to push off, but we're going to get back to this standing position. And then we're going to push our hip back. One key here is you want to make sure we're not up rotated like that. When our pelvis is nice and flat to the ground, you can use this chair if you need it, come back through, and then we're going to go back into it. So we're going to go 10 each side, all right, guys? So your heart's going to be pumping after this. We're going to get a whole lot of stability going on in those hip sockets.
And don't be afraid to have something, a chair, a wall, anything that you can stabilize on. If you're like me, I'm still working on my balance, so this is great to have. Don't be afraid to use it.
Yeah, you can either hold on to it or you can just kind of tap it when you need it, okay? So let's first start by lunging to our left, get nice and established, You're gonna drive back into a standing on your right leg, left knee up, and then we're gonna hinge back, pause, and then now rip through, left knee comes high, and then fall into the lateral lunge. And you can feel free if you need to when you're coming out of the lateral lunge. If you want to tap your foot down for balance, it's totally okay until you get the gist of it. But eventually we're going to work our way up where we don't really need to tap that foot down. Right now I'm just thinking this is kind of a learning phase. Good. Back out. Another common miscue here is sometimes we tend to tilt our chin up as we hinge. Wherever your sternum is pointing, that's kind of where you want your vision line. So if you think you got that mild chin tuck that you've seen us do in many, many videos, keep that chin tuck here so we're not arching that head back. Excellent. She's doing a really good job of keeping your pelvis flat. A lot of people will rotate open. So if you want to use that same kind of cue we used earlier for the crawl, think you have a really nice glass of wine or something on your lower back, don't rotate so we spill that glass. All right, so let's go ahead and switch sides. So you're going to take the chair to the left. So now we're going to lunge to our right, come back, stand on that left leg, and then extend the right leg behind us. Once again, we're going to go for 10 reps. Nice flat pelvis, excellent, and fall.
You might have one side that's better than the other as far as balance and stability goes. That's fine, it's normal. Both of my sides are just pretty bad.
So speaking of that, if you do have one side that's a little rougher, it's usually a good idea to start with that side because you're going to be a little bit fresher, so that way you can start kind of building confidence up. Because if you're already spent, then you got to do your leg that you're not so good on, it's going to be a rough go. So we start with the weaker side if you can. Quick little check, let's pause there, make sure that pelvis is rolled down, excellent, rip through, and fall. And if you're struggling with the lateral lunge, you can almost even break it up into two parts where you kind of plant first and then go into your hinge if you need to. Jen's pretty good at her lateral lunge, so she can kind of just fall naturally into that position. That's eventually what we're trying to get to, but if you need to kind of break it down in a little bit simpler form, that's totally fine. All right, next thing up, we got the sideline shoulder. So the sideline shoulder is a really easy way to get your shoulder to do what a shoulder does. So we're gonna make sure we keep our scap out. So we're gonna have you lay down on one side. You're gonna use your bottom arm kind of as like a little pillow. So the first thing we're gonna do is take our left arm straight up to the ceiling. We're gonna make a fist, and then now we're gonna try to squeeze our shoulder blades down and back. So our arms should still be straight up, but we should feel some tension in between our scapula. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to dissociate between what the shoulder's doing and what the scap's doing, because usually if my shoulder moves, my scap goes with it. But they need to be able to move independently of each other. So that's what we're gonna do here. So we're gonna screw that scap in, and now we're gonna think about this inside elbow bone. We all have it. We're gonna make him the driver. We're gonna try to rotate him one way, and they're gonna rotate him back without losing that scapula. You're gonna go 5, 4, 5 backward. Don't freak out if you don't have a lot of movement here. Most people don't, and that's okay, but we gotta get better with it, okay? So do a quick check-in. Where's your scapula? Is it still engaged? And you really wanna think about what that elbow bone is doing. We want him to move, because if he rotates, that means our shoulder is rotating. If you're making it come from the fist, then you're just kind of supinating and pronating your wrist. That's not what we're trying to accomplish. It's all coming from the shoulder, keeping the scap engaged. All right, so we did 5 of those. Now we're going to roll it inward into internal rotation, keeping that scapula engaged, tucking it down. She's gonna come behind her back about right here. We're gonna keep this still. Now we're gonna only bend at the elbow joint. We're gonna pause behind her back without her hand actually resting on her back. So there's a visual gap right here. And now we're going to extend the elbow. We're gonna do that for 5 more. So most people, especially if you have a desk job, you're gonna be a little limited in your range behind your back. So your elbow might be a little higher up. That's totally fine. Just make sure the scap stays down and back while you do that. So you should feel a nice big stretch while you do this, kind of in the front of the shoulder capsule. All right, so now we're gonna perform the sideline shoulder car. So we've kind of done some active stuff down there, and this is gonna let us keep it. So with the shoulder car, we're going to reach forward. We're gonna come up, almost clip our ear, and then she's going to fan up toward the ceiling, rotating from that elbow joint, coming behind, coming behind, coming behind, come down toward the glute, go back up, and then we're gonna unwind back over the top. So So this is a CAR, and our CAR stands for controlled articular rotations. Basically one of the best things you can possibly do to keep your joints healthy. When you do it from this angle, you're changing the vector of gravity as opposed to doing it standing as I'm doing it. It's a little bit different. Sometimes people don't have the strength to do from here. This is a great alternative, especially if you got some kind of sketchy shoulders going on. We're only going to do 5 here. Nice and smooth.
These feel good after doing that crawl too. Nice way to recover your shoulders.
Do your CARs every single day, and you can change whether you do them standing, lying, sitting, anywhere you can get them done, just get them in. All right, so let's go ahead and flip over. Now we're going to lay on our left side. We're going to go through that whole sequence again. So make your left arm your pillow. Let's go arms straight up to the ceiling. Let's set those scaps together. It's almost like you're pinching a marker in between your scapula. You kind of keep that mentality, they won't move. Now we're going to rotate, thinking the elbow is the driver, back and forth. We're not going to have a whole lot of movement here. You're lucky if you get 30 or 40 degrees. Keep squeezing those scapula together. Nice and smooth. We're only doing 5 of these. Excellent. All right, so now we're going to roll into internal rotation, set the scapula down and back, come behind where you feel safe, and now we're going to just bend at the elbow joint without touching our lower back. So you should come pretty close, and we're just going to do 5. As you can see right here behind me, I still have an inch behind there. That's totally fine. If you can only get here, that's fine too. Just go to where you feel safe and you have control. Excellent. All right, so now we're going to go into the side shoulder CAR. So start out front. We're going to swoop up overhead, hit the roadblock, start to wind that guy up, get behind into extension, come down, and now unwind back over the top. Always take your time with your CARs. You can even close your eyes. It kind of gives you a little bit extra sense here. Because sometimes where you think your arm's going and where it actually is 2 different things. So keeping your eyes closed, you just get a little bit better connection with your CAR. Nice and smooth. Good. Do a quick little check-in. See where that scapula is going. Is it flaring all over the place, or are you able to control it and keep it down? All right, last one here for 5. All right, let's get back to the hardest part of this entire workout, that crawl 4x4x4. So, let's get back underneath with the hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. We're gonna go 4 forward, 4 backward for 4 times. Remember, it's opposite hand, opposite foot. Good, take it back, excellent. Smaller is better with your foot and your hand. But if your hand goes 2 inches forward, make that opposite foot go 2 inches forward. Sometimes when people are learning this drill, they'll go 2 inches with their hand and 7 or 8 inches with their foot, and then next thing you know, your butt's way high up in the air, and you've spilled that glass of wine. Nice and smooth. Good, and let's finish up with those 4 going backward. And excellent, come on down. All right, so we're gonna stand back up. We're gonna get into that lateral lunge to one-legged dead. So we started with the right leg last time. Let's start with the left leg this time. So you're gonna stand on your left leg. You're going to lunge to your right, pop back into the single leg deadlift on the left leg. We're gonna go for 10 total. All right, let's go get it.
Do this, guys.
Extend, do a quick check-in. Where's your pelvis? Are you rotated open, or are you keeping it nice and flat? Good, is your chin tucked, where your eyes are pointing exactly where your sternum's going? Good. Another cool tip you want to have here is when you go to hinge with that left leg, it should be decently straight. I like to call it athletically bent, or sorry, athletically straight. So I don't want to lock out, but I don't want a nasty bend here. I just want some kind of, like a little bit of a bend, maybe 10, 20 degrees tops. Sometimes when we start to learn hinging, we'll try to bend our knee way too much because we love to use these quads and not our hamstring. But we need to get better at using our hip and our hamstring. Nice and smooth. Another tip is really think like you're pushing off with that outside leg when you're trying to return from that lateral lunge. You're pushing that floor away, back and away. Last one here. Good. Almost. All right, let's go ahead and switch sides. All right, screw everything in. Let's get it stable and let's go. Let's get 10 and extend. Now you can definitely do this loaded if you wanted to. If you're going to this side, then I would hold the dumbbell in the left hand, or you could go dual dumbbell as well. But make sure you can bang out like 10 to 15 of these pretty easily before you start loading. Extend that leg straight back. So let's try to make sure our leg goes straight back and not up toward the ceiling. There we go.
Now if you do this loaded, can you hold the chair?
Yes, you can. If you hold the dumbbell in your left hand, then you can easily hold the chair with your right hand. But always try to progress very slowly. Sometimes we get carried away with numbers on the dumbbells, like, oh, I gotta go get it. I'm gonna throw a 20 pounder. That kind of defeats the purpose. So just make sure you can own it for 10 to 15 and every one of those looks perfect. And then you can start to add like a 5-pound dumbbell if you wish. All right, so last thing, we're gonna do that sideline shoulder series again. Let's go ahead and lay on down. Put your right hand underneath your head as a nice little pillow. Let's go left arm straight up to the ceiling. So screw those scaps down and back. As you're pinching that marker right in between the scaps, let's rotate that elbow joint. So we're gonna go internal, and then we're going to externally rotate. It's okay if your wrist does a little bit of movement here, but make sure the elbow bone is the driver. Check in with your scaps, make sure they're not moving. Nice and smooth. Looks good, looks good. All right, next part. So we're going to go into internal rotation, so roll that elbow down and back. We're gonna come down behind a little bit, and now we're going to flex at the elbow joint. Nice and smooth. Check in where your scapula are. You should not be shrugged, because that means your scapula went up. Make sure they're down and back. Knowing where your scapula are is probably one of the hardest things to do for pretty much anybody walking into a gym. Excellent. All right, now we're gonna go into the shoulder car. So let's start by reaching, come up, almost clip the ear, start to wind that shoulder joint over, get a little bit more rotation, come down, almost touch the glute, and come back to the side. So if you start to feel any pinches when you're doing your shoulder car, just don't go to that range. So if I came here and I start to feel a little pinch, then I would avoid that pinch, and then I would continue on my path, okay? Don't go into a pinch pain, it defeats the purpose of the exercise. We want to do as much volume as we can in a pain-free range of motion. Make sure those scaps are nice and down, especially when your arm starts to get behind your back. And last one here, create as much range as you can, pain-free. All right, guys, let's go ahead and flip sides. Let's finish up. So we're gonna lay on our left side. Right arm goes straight up to the ceiling. Pack that scapula down and back. And let's start to roll that elbow joint internally and externally. Let's go for 5. Nice and smooth. Really feel what your shoulder joint is doing here. The scap shouldn't move, and it's just a real mild rotation going internally and externally. All right, now we're going to get into the flex behind the back. So we're going to internally rotate, come down, and now we're going to bend to that elbow joint without touching our lower back. Okay, let's get 5 there. All right, let's now go into the side shoulder car, nice and smooth. Winding, trying to screw that shoulder over as much as we can. Squeezing out as much rotation inside that shoulder capsule as humanly possible. And don't worry about how big your car is. If you have a small shoulder car, that's totally fine. Just work on owning that car in every single range of motion that you can squeeze out that is pain-free. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Make sure you're breathing while you do this. Don't hold your breath trying to squeeze out that little extra range of motion. It's not worth it. And last one to finish up. Awesome, great job guys. That's the end of today's workout. So keep up with this guys. You're going to start getting more control in each of those exercises. And thank you for joining us. Until next time, remember, be strong, be mobile.